I'm Silver. It is Wednesday, May 30th. I just wanted to say a quick hello to all new viewers and a great welcome back to all returning viewers. If you tuned in last time and decided to come back, I really do appreciate it. Anyway, so how have you all been? I've been good. I've got lots to talk to you about, so I should probably just get started, right? So grab your drink of choice, your knitting or crafting, and away we go. Today I'm actually going to be partaking in a nice cup of coffee, actually French vanilla coffee from Dunkin'. It is actually my first coffee of the day, so let's see how it goes, right? It would be better if I had sugar in the house, but since I don't, meh. Okay. So if you hear any noise in the background, the air conditioner is on. I also have a lot of different things going on in the background. So if you hear a low moan, I also do have a cup of sparkling or seltzer water kind of near the microphone. So if you hear a little bit of that, I am so sorry. I'll try to take out as much as that as I possibly can as well. The more you know. So, if you've been listening to me for a while, you know that I've been recording for almost 2 years. Actually, scratch that. In fact, I'm celebrating my 2-year Podiversary today. So, happy Podiversary, everyone! To celebrate, I decided to change a few things up. Hopefully for the better. Mostly last week I did make a lot of changes too. What this means for you, my wonderful viewers, mostly a little bit more to look at visually, a cleaner theme song, and some new title cards, which I may not really be a paintbrush and canvas type of artist, but I can make title cards with the best of them. What do you think? Anyway, I hope you'll actually be willing to celebrate my second Podiversary with me. I've opened up a contest thread on the Silver's Dreamland board on Ravelry. For this contest, I'd like you to be a member of the Ravelry group and to answer 2 simple questions. The first, looking through my episode titles, which one is your favorite and why? I'm going to be linking in the show notes with a list of all of my show titles. I've also done that directly on Ravelry as well. You'll find a link to the show notes below the video here on YouTube. And there'll also be a link directly to the Ravelry group with that list as well, directly below in the comment section. Or above the comment section. Wow. Sometimes I forget how YouTube works, right? Anyway, the second thing that I do ask is that since I have been doing #SDL movie night on Instagram a lot, more this year than I did last year, I want to know, what is your favorite movie? What is your favorite actor, actress, and director? You can always do more than one. I won't be mad either way. I'll actually let you know who all my favorites are next week when I announce the winner of the contest. What will you win for answering my questions? Well, actually, you will be winning this wonderful skein of West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-Play sock in the colorway 811, which I've been told is the colorway Passion Fruit Cooler. It is a BFL wool and is 25% nylon. I'll be using a random number generator to pick a winner, and I will be leaving this thread open until Tuesday, June 5th. Until about the time that I go to bed, and then I'll lock and draw the winner when I will wake up on the 6th, whenever that is. So good luck, everyone. If you are new to the show, welcome. Since I'm now going into my 3rd year podcasting, let me introduce myself a little bit more like I did the first time that I recorded. My name is Jessica, but all of my close friends call me Silver. I have always been told that I live in my own little world of movie and music quotes, several times by people I used to work with. So anyway, I thought that the name Silver's Dreamland was appropriate for this reason. Plus, it's also a nod to one of my favorite video games, Kirby's Dream Land, because I'm geeky like that. I mean, come on, you all knew this. I live in Connecticut with my hubby Mark, who goes by MDI on the interwebs. He is almost a year older than me and has worked as a computer guy for a bank for quite a bit now. He plays video games more than I do, and he even has done a stint of speedrunning a few years ago. It doesn't anymore. And he streams a lot of the games that he plays live, which is cool. What is speedrunning? Essentially, he and his gaming friends would play through games as fast as possible, just basically for the street cred, so to speak. Hence the term speedrunning. I mean, I don't get the appeal of it, but whatevs. So MDI and I actually met in high school, actually in band. He plays the guitar and several other types of guitars as well. I actually play the flute, piccolo, piano, and some guitar. Most of the time nowadays, it is mostly the piccolo, piano, and guitar. I actually don't know where my flute went. Whoops. I think it's still in a box somewhere. Either way, I first noticed MTI when he knocked over a bunch of music stands during a concert one year. We have both been involved in music stuff together ever since. We even took on one or several, in my case, of our school's theater productions together, which was so much fun. It kind of, yeah, had lots of good times. Anyway, we have been adopted by a tuxedo cat who we called Mario. Yes, after the video game character. He got his name because he always came running when we were playing through the Wii Mario game, that first one, and it kind of stuck. Essentially, when we were yelling at the game, "Come on, Mario," then he would come running. We found it kind of funny, hence the name. Well, that and the fact that he does have the handlebar mustache that the game character has. If you ever want to know what he's up to, I have started using hashtag Mario the Cat on Instagram, as so that way if you'd like to follow his shenanigans, because he's got a few. Anyway, enough chatter. Let's move on to my favorite things. Let's see, I did have a shipment come in this past week. It's from Webs. I did get a size US 7 marbles 40-inch circs, so that way I can work on something that I've been wanting to work on for a while. And while I was there, since I was paying for the shipping anyway, I wanted to get a new crochet hook. I did get a size K. It is the Knitter's Pride Waves. Ugh, it's so gorgeous and it fits my hand. It's actually made me want to do a lot more crochet. The metal Susan Bates needles I had, every once in a while would dig into my palm. The words are like in the little shaft of it has words on it, and it kind of digs into my hand every once in a while. Ugh, I can't. So also this week, if you are in the States, you know that it was Memorial Day. So my family and I all got together at my parents' house because my parents have been gone for a while. We all caught up, and I sat there and I knit for a long time as we were playing Ticket to Ride, and we did eat a lot of good food, which is perfect and just what we needed. And then MDI had to work, and he's got some crazy stories to tell, but they aren't mine, so yeah. All right, enough about my personal life. You want to hear about the knitting, don't you? Well, if you've been following me a little bit on Instagram, you know that Stash Dash recently started. Literally a couple days after I recorded last. So I do have a couple of quick FOs that I was able to get done actually that same day that Stash Dash started. The first one was what I called Birthday Month DVD socks. Now this is the May version of the Desert Vista Dye Works yarn club that I'm doing, or sock club that I'm doing. I used the pattern OMG Heel Socks by Megan Williams. The colorway I used this month was called Happy Birthday Cupcake, because as you do, I love a good theme, right? I did knit these on a size US 1, which is a 2.25 millimeter, 9-inch circulars, and then two 16-inch circulars for the heels, toes, and cuffs. The second thing that I finished was what I called Embers Up. The pattern I used on this one was actually a vanilla sock recipe that I have been trying to perfect for myself for a while, and it actually would fit my heel perfectly. The yarn that I used was Redbird Yarn Studio Simple Sock in the Ember colorway. Also, this one was knit directly on a US 1, which is 2.25 millimeter 9-inch circulars, and then two 16-inch circulars for the heels, toes, and cuffs as well. All right, so the last thing that I did finish this week was what I called simply cotton candy sock blank socks. This also was the same vanilla sock recipe that I have tried to perfect for myself as well, so perfectly fits my heel. It's based off a toe-up pattern by Wendy D. Johnson that I've been doing for forever. The yarn on this one was Gail's Art Simple Sock Blank. I used the pink and blue abstract one. Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. You'll have to see the before and after photos I'll put here. On this one, I knit this one with a size US 2, which is a 2.75 millimeter. Also, the 9-inch circulars and two 16-inch circulars for the heels, toes, and cuffs on that one as well. Because that seems to be my modus operandi, so to speak. Yeah, I know, big words. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Let's move on to current irks. The first thing that has gotten some love is what I am calling Whispering Amira. It is the Amira pattern by Renee Muller. I have been using some Knit Picks Cotton in the Whisper colorway. I am currently just about to add the third skein of yarn on the back piece that I'm currently working on. I just switched over to the top part of the pattern that's supposed to cover your boobage. Anyway, I have been using a size US 4, which is a 3.5 millimeter needle for the little ribbing at the top and the bottom, as well as to do some bind off work and casting on in that too. I'm also using a size US 6, which is a 4.0 marbles needles for the rest of the top itself. Oh, I love this top, guys. Oh, I can't believe how much progress I've made in a week, right? This is actually being housed in my blue TARDIS bag by Addicted to Sock Knitting. I love this bag. I can't help it. The next thing that has gotten some love this week was what I'm calling Jody, we're podcasting. This pattern, if you couldn't tell, was the Jody by Hoki Locatelli. I put a lot of love onto this one this week. Trust me on that. The yarn that I'm using is by Nice and Knit. It's a fingering weight sock type yarn for them. The first color is Driftwood, and then I added in Canal this past week. Oh yeah, and I also added in the last color, Vineyard. So I did do quite a bit of work on it. Oh, I love the combination of these colors, you guys. Absolutely gorgeous. And I have actually headed to the little lacy bit at the end on the border. This is actually I'm knitting this one with a US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter marble circulars. I graduated the project from a 29-inch circular to a 40-inch circular that I just got as soon as I got it, mostly so that I can keep working on it. And once I did, the love abounds on this one. And this is actually being housed in my orange Gothic bag by the Knitting Broomstick. Gorgeous. I love it. The third thing that got a little bit of love this week was what I called Granny Stripes and Cozy Dreams. The pattern I'm using this one is the Granny Stripes pattern by Lucy of Attic 24. For this one, I'm using a lot of miscellaneous Red Heart scraps. I just finished the first full skein that I was putting in there of Boysenberry. Up next, I have a Hunter Green, I believe that's the name. A lot of the colorways that I'm going to be using, I have lost the ball bands like years ago. So I will try to do my best to come up with a full list of all the yarns that I use, and they'll be on my Ravelry page. That way you have it. The hook I'm using on this one, because yes, I have been crocheting a little bit as well. I'm using my new K hook from Knitter's Pride Waves. I believe they call it Waves. So yeah. At the moment, it's actually freestyling it. It's kind of hanging about on my couch a little bit. I don't have a bag for it as of yet. This is going to be wide enough to fit on our queen size bed upstairs, mostly because MTI was kind of saying that, we don't have a blanket upstairs on the bed that I've made. So that's how that project got started, y'all. If you weren't here for a couple episodes ago for that one. So the next thing that did get sort of a bit of love this week was what I am calling a pumpkin season all the time. I have pretty much gotten about halfway through the sleeves. I'm about halfway through the decreases, and yeah. Anyway, I won't give away the secret sauce on that one, but there's quite a bit of decreasing to do on those sleeves. I did modify the decrease section a little bit more, mostly because my gauge is obviously a little bit off from what the designer had wanted. Oh, so speaking of designer, this pattern was actually the Harvest by Tin Can Knits. Oh, I love their patterns, you guys. Can't you tell? The yarn I'm using in this one is the Barocco Vintage GK in the pumpkin colorway. With the second sleeve, I'll have enough with the skein that I'm on to finish this sleeve. I'm hoping. I'm crossing my fingers because I have literally one more skein left over, and I'm hoping I can get that sleeve done in the second one. So the sweater is actually being knit on a size US 6 4.0 millimeter for the ribbing at the bottom, and will also be on the cuffs of the sleeves as well, and on a size US 8, which is a 5.0 millimeter for the rest of the cardigan itself. It is actually sort of being housed in my blue TARDIS bag by the Knitted Broomstick. I have pretty much the yarn sitting in the bag. And then the rest of the cardigan is kind of freestyling it. It's just too big for any bag that I own right now. Because, yeah, y'all know I'm a big girl. So there's a lot of yarn putting in these cardigans, right? The next thing that got a little bit of love is what I am calling Rainbows from Markin. I'm also using a vanilla sock recipe. I'm using the same one I used for myself, but making it slightly longer. I've found that both MTI and I have pretty much the same type of foot heel, and then, his foot is a little bit longer than mine, and I just have white feet in general, so there you go. I am using West Yorkshire Spinner's Signature 4-ply in the Prom Paradise colorway. It is knitting up very rainbow-tastic. I just love the way that it's working, hence the title. I have to tell you, as a side tangent, my grandmother really loves this colorway, guys. I took it to knit on while we were at the Memorial Day picnic, and she just kind of kept watching me as I was knitting it. She was very fascinated by the self-striping part of it. So there's an idea right there for future gifts, right? Anyway, I'm knitting this pair of socks on a 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter 9-inch circulars, and two 16-inch circulars for the heels, toes, and cuffs. The yarn itself is a little bit thicker, so I wanted to have a bigger needle size. Normally I would just do that on a size 1 for his size as well. This one is actually being housed in what I'm calling the yellow TARDIS bag. There is no maker's name on the tag, and honestly, I bought this so long ago, I don't even remember who I got it from. I am so sorry if you are listening to the podcast and you made that bag, but it's unbelievably awesome. I love this bag. I've used it pretty much for anything I possibly can. Everyone say hi to Mario. He's going right by now. He just shook his tail at me like, Mama, don't. Alrighty, so the last thing that got a little bit of love this week is what I am calling I literally can't even, with a smiley face at the end. This one is the Tracy pattern by Hohi Locatelli. I am using two different colors. One is actually the Blue Moon Fiber Arts Socks That Rock lightweight colorway of KMBFLA. Now, if you haven't been around for a while or you don't know what I'm talking about, the anagram means kiss my big fat lavender. And the second colorway I'm using on that one is Owl from Owlbout yarn in the sparkle sock or sparkle owl sock weight yarn that she has. The colorway was called GGK Turns 5. This was the fifth Podiversary colorway from CC and Dammy's podcast. So, because you had to get it right. I am actually using a size US 6, which is a 4.0 millimeter marbles needles. Right now it is on a 40-inch cable, I believe, for that one too. Anyway, the bag that it's actually in is the black Jack Skellington bag that I have by Molly Klein Designs. It's a little too big for the bag right now. I don't want to stretch it, but I'm going to get back to this. I love this make. Let me tell you. The knit has gone so super fast. I've gotten into the little patterning section in the middle after the stripes. Absolutely gorgeous. I love it the way that these two colors are put together. So I'm patting myself on the back for those combinations, right? So what's in Back to the Future? Well, I've got a few things that are coming up next. This is the section where I discuss possible dream makes, things that I've been dreaming about casting on and things like that. The first one is what I'm calling simply June's DVD socks. I already know what color I am going to use of Desert Vista Dye Works Viso base yarn. I'm going to be using the colorway Clark. The pattern I know I'm going to be using, I set this up at the beginning of the year to do the OMG Heel Socks by Megan Williams. Oh, I love this. And I do also have another KAL I'm going to be participating in. It's the self-striping KAL through the Knit Girls. So I have June's socks going to be on the needles in a couple days when the beginning of the month starts. I know I am going to be using my new vanilla sock recipe that I figured out for myself. I will be also using Fab Funky Fibers self-striping sock in her Smells Like Teen Spirit colorway. I love the way that these colors are, guys. They are nice summery colors. Moving on to Radio Gaga. This is actually where I have been starting to talk about what I've been listening to, because I do a lot of that. So I do listen a lot to 99.1 Peeler. It's the station out of New Haven, Connecticut. It's one of my favorites, classic rock, as you do. The next thing that I've been listening to is the Hamilton soundtrack, but of course, right? And the last thing that has actually gotten a lot of listening time over the past week, especially past couple days specifically, has actually been my Spotify playlist that I'm calling it Silver's Being Random. I will link to that directly in the show notes as well as down below in the down bar there. So I have been listening to several podcasts this week, especially. I have listened to The Knitwear Girls. I have listened to Wine and Crime, and I've listened to Is This Adulting? Essentially, these three make my week. They're unbelievably awesome, I have to say. And I like them all for different reasons as well, because as you do. Moving on to Silver's book pile. This is actually the formally titled What You Readin' Silver category that I used to have. It's where I showcase the different books that I've been reading throughout the course of the week. The first one that I actually finished was what is titled Tied Down by Laura Hartner. This is a male romance, very quick. I would say more like a short story than a book. It's kind of between different books in the series. I didn't enjoy it as much as I would, only because, I don't know the characters as well as I could have for that one, but it was free, so yeah. The next thing that I finished reading was a book called Shacking Up by Helena Hunting. The next book in the series, Getting Down by Helena Hunting, I also finished as well. I did finish reading A Fighting Chance by Annie Stone, and then literally like last night or the night before, actually, I finished reading a book called Fever by Lola Taylor. Now, what has gotten my attention over the past couple days and what I'm currently reading, I have been listening to Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. I've also been listening to Hooking Up, which is the second book in the series by Helena Hunting. And then the last book that's gotten a little bit of love, especially last night because I couldn't sleep, a book called Ignite by Caitlin Davis. Oh, I love this book so far, you guys. I am addicted. I'm about 60% of the book read already, and I think I just started it. Yeah, I just started it yesterday morning, like right before I went to bed. So, oh, I love it. It's funny. It's kind of weird too. It's a story of a couple of vampires who end up trying to kidnap the main character, and then the main character totally kicks their butt. Totally kicks their butt because apparently she's a conduit, so she can like throw fire out of her hands. Oh, I can't even. It's awesome. And then, of course, she meets this guy who's supposed to be her guardian, so to speak, but ends up becoming like her best friend. And there's so much drama, guys. But it's awesome. It's totally kind of what I needed last night to kind of relax before bed. Let's move on to Silver and the Case of the Screen Time. Um, I've been watching a lot of stuff over the past week, mostly to keep my mind off of what I talked about last week with the job situation and everything else. Anyway, uh, but I digress. I did watch the rest of the Elevator series. Apparently, there was only like 2 or 3 more episodes after I spoke last week. I didn't realize that. I'm kind of doing a sad panda moment because I really, really wanted there to be a lot more. I love the Twisted Twins, and I've told them this even on Twitter because, yeah, it's amazing. I also, once I finished Elevator, I watched a couple episodes of Gilmore Girls, mostly just to, mostly just to not freak myself out before bed a little bit. I am not normally like a nervous person. Usually I can watch like a horror movie and go right to bed afterward, but that particular night, I just kind of wanted to watch some Gilmore Girls. Because do you really need an excuse to watch Gilmore Girls? No? Okay then. I've also watched a fair amount of podcasts this week as well. Doing a little bit still more catch up, and I'm trying to find some new podcasts too. So, yay! Um, I did end up watching a couple episodes of Dramatic Knits just to catch up. I watched the Knit Girls episodes. Also, Around the Twist had a couple episodes. The Grocery Girls were back again. I liked the backyard setup that they had, and I liked that they were like grousing at each other for the person doing yard work, even though it wasn't as annoying. Um, and honestly, the whole microphone bit throughout the whole thing, like the microphone itself, I think was not really working as well as they thought it was, because the iPad that they record on, it was perfect. The volume was perfect, and you didn't have to worry about it, but as you do. Anyway, I digress again. I also watched Stitching the High Notes. Hi, Joanna. You're amazing. I love all the different works in progress you have, and it reminded me that I do not have to try to be monogamous on projects, but I can get a lot done. So, you're very inspiring, Joanna. And speaking of inspiring, the Geeky Girls Knit podcast, you guys, they have definitely inspired me to finish up some lingering works in progress that I had almost forgotten about, right? All right, so this week has been a lot of movies. Mostly over the past couple days, I got it through my head. I wanted to watch as many movies as I possibly could before I recorded. I finished watching The Birdcage. I love this movie. Honestly, it's been probably only the second time I've seen this movie since Robin Williams passed, which is very sad because I love this movie. Ever since I found it, I can't. But yeah, this movie actually gave me the utmost respect for the um the community itself, and you know which one I'm talking about. Anyway, so I also watched The Breakfast Club, which is another one of my favorites. This one I premiered directly on Instagram with the hashtag SDL Movie Night tag that I've been using. The next movie that I watched is technically not a movie. It was a mini series that Stephen King had written for TV back a couple years ago. This was turned into a movie form so that way we can consume it at the house. That's what Stephen King's movies end up being. If they were on TV at first, they'll compile it into one long quote unquote movie. And I did premiere this one on also on the SDL Movie Night hashtag. I apologize if my hints were not as great, mostly for that fact. I just wanted to let you guys know. Yes, this was the second one that I premiered. Sorry. I'll try to. I know this movie is very not in mainstream. So yeah, I apologize for those that were trying to play along. And it was this movie itself is not as well known. So I appreciate you guys trying to guess. All right, and the last one that I premiered for SDL Movie Night is the very start of a series that I will finish hopefully tonight. I am watching all the way through the Harry Potter movies. I started with The Sorcerer's Stone. I also watched The Chamber of Secrets, The Prisoner of Azkaban, The Goblet of Fire, The Order of the Phoenix, and The Half-Blood Prince. Oh my gosh. Half-Blood Prince, every time at the very end, bawling hysterically. MTI looks over, he's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yes, it's Dumbledore again." He's like, "Dude, you know it's coming. Why? Why are you always upset?" And I'm just like, "Because it's Dumbledore." And then of course you have to follow that up with a cry for Alan Rickman though, because you know Snape would not be the same without Alan Rickman, I have to say. Yeah. Let's move on to the end of the road. I am pretty social. You can find me on our Ravelry board, which is Silver's Dreamland Podcast. I am SilverLuna2112 there. On Facebook, Silver's Dreamland can be found at www.facebook.com/Silver's Dreamland. On Instagram, I am both Silver's Treats and Silver's Dreamland. I'm actually thinking about closing the Silver's Dreamland, so message me on the first one, which is Silver's Treats. On Twitter, I am at Silver's Knitting. I do tend to read through all messages as soon as I possibly can. If you don't hear from me within 24 hours, please feel free to email me directly at silversdreamland@gmail.com. You can find me on Ravelry as SilverLuna2112. As always, anything that I talk about can be found in the show notes at silversdreamlandpodcast.com. A few last minute notes. Please just make sure you get your entry in for our Podiversary questionnaire directly on the Ravelry board, as well as make sure that you introduce yourself in the introduction thread. I'd love to hear from you. And if you have any questions for me, there's also a thread for that as well. So I've rambled for long enough. I know your time is valuable. Please feel free to join in any discussion or start your own on the Silver's Dreamland and Ravelry board. I don't bite, I promise. Please stay tuned for episode 48 on the 6th. Until next time, happy crafting!